this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to a very special edition of Get It Right Texoma with the trio.
Do we need some of that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun special news?
Oh, yeah.
We probably should do that.
Yeah.
Well, you find me the audio and send it to me.
All right, I'll send it to you, and you can edit that in. Good
You
grief.
might hear it, you know.
Excuse me, we are... I'll get this out here in a moment. We are the Texas Trio, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Sorolla.
The Texas Trio?
Well,
The Texoma Trio.
the Texoma Trio.
Oh, we could stand for the Texas Trio, too.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
we are
cool.
all from Texas.
Yeah,
Right?
well, that's true. Right.
Or, you know, I mean...
Well, we'll do that.
We are all Texans. I mean,
Yes.
maybe you can't tell it, but we are. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate it. This is a very special edition of Get It Right Texoma because we are here to talk about the very first and what could be the only Trump-Biden debate.
Also known as the Fecal Matter Show.
Oh, my God. I was embarrassed last night.
I agree with you. It was embarrassing and it was very sad.
Yeah.
It was very sad. So, two observations right away.
Go right ahead.
Number one, if you do not understand after last night's Fecal Matter Show that Joe Biden has dementia, I don't know what's going to convince you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to sell you on it. Number two, I think, because I've already seen some reactions from some folks who said that they were disappointed in Donald Trump's performance.
I'm one of those.
Here's where I
agree
think,
with
though,
some
some of that may be rooted. We are accustomed to seeing a Donald Trump who's very loud, boisterous, vocal, even sometimes just borderline profane, and almost to the point of yelling at some things. Last night, he was not that guy. He was very reserved by comparison. He was very restrained by comparison. He was not the same Trump you saw in 2016 or 2016.
Or even seeing him on the stump.
Or even,
Yeah, right.
Even seeing the stuff.
Exactly.
Just a different guy, which I think is actually a positive thing, by the way.
I think it was a strategy.
I think it was a strategy.
I think he lost it towards the end there. My first observation was, I think the moderators did a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, I think they were.
I heard so many people saying it was going to be Trump against everybody. Honestly, I think that the questions they asked were hardball questions.
Yeah.
And they asked plenty of hardball questions to Joe Biden.
And they weren't.
And I don't think they were slanted very much for the most part. So I'm going to I think they performed better than they could have. They expected.
Yeah.
The problem where they lost control was, and they really lost control with Trump more than Biden on this one, was when they would ask a question and he'd go, let me finish up on that last thing. No. And that needs to be a no. No, this is the question now.
Yeah.
You said what you had to say.
They told him, though, that they could do whatever they want with that time.
Yeah, but they should. I think they should have changed it. I will say a couple of times, Jake Taffer and then also the co-host, she both of them did say, Trump twice and Biden once. You have X amount, so many seconds left. Would you like to answer the question? And repeated the question.
Yes.
Number two, there's a lot of things and I'm an old debate guy. I debated in high school, some I debated in college. And I just did exactly what my point is about to be. One of the strategies for debate is to keep your organizing your thoughts is numbering them. And if you notice, Joe Biden did a lot of numbering last night. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a debate strategy. There's a third thing that I think was a pretty big observation here, and I think this goes back to your first point of Joe Biden doesn't have it all there.
Yeah.
When Joe Biden looked at Donald Trump and chastised him for saying the suckers and fools, whatever thing like that, and he made it personal with his ad, I don't think that was performative. I honestly believe Joe Biden has so far gone that even though he knows that originally was a BS thing, he knows that was BS, or he at one time knew that four-star general that was fired lied about that, and that conversation never happened.
Yeah.
I think that he's internalized that and heard it so many times, and it's been pounded in his head so many times because he was going to bring it up, that in his mind he could not separate fact from reality, and all of a sudden that his son, Beau Biden, who died, came back. And I think when he looked at Trump and he chastised Trump for that comment, and my son is not this, I don't think that was performative. No, I honestly believe that was an honest moment.
He looked so.
Now, it wasn't reality. But it was Joe Biden's reality at that time. I really believe that.
And here's the thing, and I think this is where a lot of Democrats, by the way, are just they're scrambling.
They're wetting themselves right now.
They're looking for an exit strategy to get Biden off the ticket.
Yeah.
They are. We can get into that in a second, but here's the thing: Joe Biden had prepared for over a week for this debate.
Yes, sir.
They actually set up a full mock debate stage with sit-ins for the moderators. They had one of Biden's attorneys acted as a stand-in for Trump.
Right.
They went through a full-on dress rehearsal
for, like you said, a week. And
yes.
let's put that in perspective. This guy's supposed to be running the country, right?
Yes.
So they fly him to Camp David.
Yes.
And he has this whole team of people.
Yes.
That are prepping him for an entire week for this debate. And he basically pooped the bed, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dozens of people were involved in the prep for this debate. Dozens of people were involved in setting up that mock debate situation. And CNN literally gave him the questions. They gave him the questions. He knew what was going to be asked. They've said as much.
Oh, really? Okay.
I hadn't heard that.
That he knew what was going to happen.
I wonder if that was conjecture. I don't know if he actually literally had the questions.
They may have given him a battery of questions and said, "We're going to ask you from these lists of questions. Some group of these questions is what you could hear at the debate." The point is, though, they gave him questions. He had every opportunity to prepare for this, but he can't. The man has dementia.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He's not capable of retaining enough of that information and then regurgitating it the way they needed him to. It's that simple.
Well, it's also, we were texting back and forth, guys, last night, and if you look at my text, have you ever seen somebody amped up and slowed down at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, he was amped up and slowed down. And then if you notice, he got more amped up towards the end of the debate.
Yeah.
I don't know if the meds started kicking in or what it was, but and I'm not saying that to be funny. I truly believe that they filled the guy up with some meds of some sort, get him going that way. But it's almost like they gave him uppers and downers at the same time because he was amped up in some ways, but then he was slow on the retention on the same time.
Yeah, but you've mentioned this before, Mike, about how some people with dementia, they get angry at times because they're frustrated.
It's a hallmark.
Right.
It's a hallmark.
And so I detected what you were referring to earlier with when he was thinking about Beau and his experience, and that probably ginned up a lot of feelings. And
that was later on, though. I'm talking about at the very beginning of the debate.
Okay.
He came out and he was kind of amped up, but then when he was trying to talk, he couldn't retain that. It was like amped up and slowed down at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you that later on, yes, that did happen.
It's like you're trying to tap the brake and the gas at the same time.
That's exactly what it looked like to me.
Here's the thing, too. A lot of people who suffer from dementia, they get to a point to where they start to suffer from what's called sundowner syndrome. As the day wears on and evening sets in, they tend to become even more agitated, more difficult to talk to, more difficult to handle. And unfortunately, though, with a presidential debate like this, you can't do it at noon, for crying out loud. Nobody will be around to watch it. You got to do these things in the evening when more people are available to watch it. That's just how it is.
What are your thoughts, Terry?
Well, so I agree with everything you're talking about with Biden. I think he got frustrated. I just think he was not prepared. There was no way that he did it. Let me back up for a minute. All of that, what you said, just like I said. Now, what my first thought was after listening and absorbing everything was this was a setup. They've been denying all of this that, there's not any issue with his cognitive abilities. It's not. They've been denying, right? I mean, absolute deny. And then suddenly, after the debate, I watched they had it on when I was watching the CNN. This about 8 people were talking about it, and oh my gosh, I mean, it was just everybody's ragging on him now. Yep. And now this is Michelle Obama or whoever talking about that maybe he ought to step aside. And it's like, wait a minute, this I think they were waiting until now because they thought, oh, this is the opportunity. We know he's going to do. And for people not to have been able to tell, I feel bad for the guy. And I even had a little bit of doubt about, gosh, I haven't watched him in all these places. I haven't watched the whole speech of whatever he gave at any given time, but we just see the clips, right?
Right.
Well, he had the opportunity now to lay it all out and
to dispel that.
Exactly, and he didn't. He failed miserably. He did not do well, and so I think it makes me wonder if there's not or hasn't been a time. They've just been waiting until the right time. And this is an early debate, right? This is early in the season.
The earliest debate ever in modern times.
Right. And so it's like, okay, so they say, well, and they brought it up. So what did they do? They went, hey, President, why don't you go ahead and do an early debate? Yeah. And then it's almost like they set him up. And that's sad.
Well, basically, because they're not really technically the candidates yet.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they're the presumptive. Presumptive candidates.
Right.
So you're right. There's never been a debate between 2 presumptive candidates that I'm ever aware of.
Exactly. Well, now, also, on the other side, I think Trump, I'm going to say, I'm not going to give him an F.
Oh, I wouldn't give him an F.
Maybe a C-, and because I think he had an opportunity, and I wonder though if I don't know if you were alluding to this at all, Mike, but would it be possible that maybe Trump was actually holding back a little bit because he didn't want to be perceived as
attacking the elderly guy?
I think he would. I agree with you. I think he did.
Okay, so if that's the case, great. Why? He had such a great opportunity. He could have ignored everything about Biden. He could have ignored every comment and everything and been so positive about what it is he wants to do and just.
Well, he started that way.
Yeah.
And then he went off the road.
And it's like,
I agree. I agree with that.
Opportunity.
I agree.
And again, keep in mind that none of us are Trumpers, but we know what's out there, and this appears to be the thing. And he might have even. Because Biden did so bad, and again goes back to the whole thing with maybe he was set up, but now he's actually got a better chance of losing now. I think Trump does, especially if they end up getting somebody else on the ticket.
Depends on who, though.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I don't think Hillary Clinton's going to come in and say
if they actually stick to it, like they said, even after the debate, they're saying nope. Biden is on the ticket. He's going to do it. Okay.
Well, here's the deal. We are we are approximately 9 weeks out from the Democratic National Convention. Yeah. That is where they would officially make Biden the Democratic nominee for president.
Make it official. Yeah.
Officially. We're about 9 weeks out. It's August 19th through the 22nd in Chicago. Okay. About 1 month prior is the Republican National Convention.
Right.
Interestingly enough, the sentencing for Donald Trump in that trial, if you want to call it that, in New York, is 4 days. 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention. 4.
And he didn't, but Trump did not,
if you're German,
defend his case. He didn't harp on or talk about all of the things that led up to this trial in New York.
Right.
What all the BS that was involved. Of all the people, he should know it more intimately than all.
Well, I don't think he wanted to spend time on that trial.
No. But you could have. But he didn't even address it. He just said it's a scam, or it was a sham or whatever. And it's like,
well, here's the deal.
It was a scam sham.
They're appealing the verdict.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too.
There's always a good chance that the verdict will get overturned on appeal. Donald Trump's not going to prison. They're not going to lock the guy up. You can't do that. What are you going to lock half a dozen Secret Service agents up with him? Yeah. No, you're not going to do that. So he's not going to prison. They are, are they going to try to hurt him? Yeah, they already have. They have been.
That's what they've been trying to do.
But you think about, of all the Democrats right now, who do they have on the radar that could even have
who could step in at this point
with the name recognition necessary and the gravitas necessary.
I think Michelle Obama's the only one.
She's the only one with the name recognition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And Hillary's not going to be it.
I think she may be as unlikable or even less likable than Hillary.
Well, I think she is, but she is married to Barack Obama, who was likable, which I think was it Epsis has made the heart grow fonder with Barack Obama? Because I've heard some people that really can't stand Joe Biden to go, Barack Obama, he was the smartest guy in the room when he was the president. It's like, no, he wasn't. He was a crappy president. He was way over his head.
Yes.
Now, he said it was style.
Yeah.
He had a great style about him and stuff. And by the way, once again, I am as intellectually honest as anybody you're going to find. I think Barack Obama was a great orator. I think Barack Obama is probably a really good husband. I think Barack Obama is a good citizen. I think Barack Obama is probably a pretty good dad. Never heard about him cheating on Michelle. Never heard about him doing right by his kids. Never heard about him doing, kicking stray puppies or anything like that. I think Barack Obama is probably a pretty good citizen when it comes to that sort of stuff. Yeah. Now, there are things about him I don't like. I don't like the way they they utilized and wrung the American taxpayer out for everything they could get from them.
Yeah. Well,
but as a person, I think Barack Obama is probably a pretty good person.
Michelle Obama on the head of the ticket and Barack as vice president. That's theoretically.
Can't do it.
Yeah,
Why not?
Because he can't be president again.
No, he can't be elected president.
No,
right?
he can't. He can't serve as president.
He can't serve.
He can't serve.
Yeah.
He can't even.
He can't even serve.
If she died, he would be.
He immediately would become
Well, no,
president.
I know, but I thought it was you couldn't be elected.
No, you can't be president.
No, he is constitutionally barred from serving more than 2 terms, and they don't even have to be consecutive terms.
No,
like Trump. Trump.
Right? No, I know
If Trump
that.
gets reelected,
Right.
he
He's
will
only
not
got
have
4
served.
years. But I was thinking the technicality had to do with the fact of being elected. I'm going to research that, but just so that
I'm go ahead and look. Yeah, look it up, because otherwise, I think Bill Clinton, they would have tried to parachute Bill Clinton in as vice president on some deal to be a shadow. When you did that, it would make almost a shadow government.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, though. Barack Obama, just real quick on him. Barack Obama was a pretty good salesman, is what he was.
Oh yeah, he was a damn good salesman.
The guy knew less about everything than almost anybody that ever served in the White House.
Absolutely, yes.
But he was a pretty damn good
It was
salesman.
a shit show as a president.
He knew how to. He and Bill Clinton both. If you look at the Democrats of the 20th century forward, he and Bill Clinton were the rock stars of the Democratic Party in their own way. Mm-hmm. They were rock stars.
Yeah, agreed.
They don't have a rock star right now.
And by the way, who set both of them up? What family set both of them up to be who they were? The Bushes. Mm-hmm. George H.W. Bush failed. That read my lips, no new taxes.
Yep.
George H.W. Bush, the economy was pretty good. He could have rolled right into that and had a second term, and we probably never would have had a Clinton dynasty, because Bill Clinton probably would have gone to prison by that time, or he would have lost his luster. You talk about perfect timing. Mm-hmm. George Bush basically pisses half the country off, and including the Republicans. Mm-hmm. They get this young upstart from a guy who talks good and plays the saxophone on Arsenio Hall and all of this, and is a good salesman. And so he rolls right into that. That creates a Clinton dynasty. Then George W. Bush did a great job his first term right after 9/11 and all that, but he sucked his second term. He stuck his head in the sand. He insulated himself away from what the American public wanted, and the American public was done with the Bushes and done with the Republicans. And it was because of George Bush's second term that happened, and all of a sudden you get this hip, cool guy. He's black on top of that, which helped him a little bit, because that helped. There were black people that voted for Barack Obama, which, by the way, was if you voted for Barack Obama because he's black, it's just as racist as voting for him because he's not black. Voting against him because he's not black, it's just as racist. But you had tons of white people that said, okay, it's cool to be part of history, or we'll right the wrongs of the past, or whatever BS they came up with. So they voted for Barack Obama, who was in way over his head from day one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
But it was the Bushes, it was the Bush family that handed us Bill Clinton and Barack Obama Period. End of story.
Well, and little sidebar
and
here.
Ross Perot hurt too.
Oh, yeah.
Ross
Yeah.
Perot was part of that.
If Ross Perot had not been in that,
I think Bush would have
race,
won.
Bush might have eked it out.
Right, but if Bush had been strong and not done the no new taxes and held his line and all that sort of stuff, even with Ross Perot in there, he still may have won.
Might have.
What happened was Bush disenfranchised a lot of people that voted for Ross Perot because it was an anti-Bush vote.
Yes.
That probably would not have voted for Ross Perot as an anti-Bush vote. They probably would have voted for Bush.
And I'll tell you what, I don't know that today, in the internet age that we live in now, the social media age that we live in now, I don't know, and this is ironic because what was Ross Perot's big claim to fame? He was a tech guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Pro Systems. It wasn't Pro Systems back then, but yeah, I got
he was a tech guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't think today Ross Perot could make the impact that he made in '92. I don't think there's any way he could have done
no,
it.
I agree with you.
No way. Today.
Okay, so what I texted this to you guys. Does Robert Kennedy get elevated?
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope.
You don't think?
His own family
You don't
has
think?
come out in support of Joe Biden. His own family, cousins, siblings, they're all coming out in favor of Biden.
Yeah, but-
His own family
Yeah.
won't support it.
Oh, and I think he's a pretty sharp guy.
I think he is too.
I've listened to Robert Kennedy Jr. I've listened to him. I don't agree with all of his politics.
I don't either.
He's not a lefty at all. He's a very moderate, leans a little bit to classic liberal.
Yeah.
He's more liberal than I think any of us care, but he's not very far left. He's
more
pretty
like-
middle of the road.
He's more like his Uncle John.
Yeah, and he may even be more conservative than that.
Yeah,
a
he
little
might
bit
be
more conservative than that.
But I don't think he's got a snowball's chance in hell. His own family
agree.
won't back him. And because of that, he's going to find it very difficult to get a large amount of the money to flow his direction,
Yeah, I'd like
which
to
is going to
see-
make it really challenging.
Well, but if he's but with this performance of Biden, with him losing a lot of support, and if they can't convince Biden or whoever to get off the ticket, then what? I just wonder.
But he's not on the ticket yet.
Here's the thing.
Well,
here's
if he
the
gets,
thing.
assuming
Assuming
I'm just
they're gonna
saying,
put
if,
him in.
we do end up
I
with him.
think
I'm just
anything could happen, and I don't think you can discount any possibilities. But in the context of today, here and now, Robert Kennedy RFK Jr. has a very hard road to hoe here.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
That's an old country term, by the way, a road to hoe.
It's very, very much so. Gavin Newsom. There's no way Gavin Newsom couldn't even make a blip on the radar here right now. Because he's got this albatross around his neck called California.
Yeah.
That is in itself a fecal matter show.
He's running for president 2028. Here's another possibility.
Possibly.
Let me throw this one out there, because the Republicans did this twice in the last 30 years. The Republicans basically said, "We're going to lose. Let's throw somebody out there and let it be their turn and get them out of the way."
Bob
Dole and John McCain. Those were the two. Neither one of those guys stood a snowball chance in hell of winning.
Nope.
Both of them, they threw them out there. And I kind of wonder about this, if the Democrats are looking at it behind closed doors and going, look, we absolutely hate Trump, but he can only serve for 4 years. So let's go ahead and keep Joe Biden in there. We'll let Orange Man Bad go ahead and win. But good news is he's only for 4 years, and then it's a wide open field. Then we've got a whole shot again. Long game. Now we can try to clean up Gavin Newsom or whoever it is over the next few months or whatever we can, or the next few years, and try to do whatever we can do. That is a possibility that the Democrats are going to go ahead and stick with Joe Biden, knowing that he's going to lose, understanding he's going to be the sacrificial lamb, get Donald Trump in there, get Donald Trump off the board, because now he can't serve before more than 4 years. Right. Get him off the board, and now you wipe the slate clean, and now 2028, we got a brand new, fresh set of candidates. The Republicans don't really have a leg up over us Democrats. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now, given you being one of the early predictors of a Trump win in 2016,
I think I was the early predictor. I don't know another person that predicted as early as I did.
This guy right here threw it down in 16 and said Trump's going to win.
And I said it in a microphone on the airwaves.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
you did.
It wasn't like I said it. But I met you in a dark alley and passed you a little note that goes, Trump's going to win.
Hundreds of dozens of people heard it.
That's it. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's the
That's
thing.
a good one. I like that.
I think I think there's merit to what you're saying. I really do. I think there's a strong possibility that could be the philosophy at work here. And this is the thing. You got to know these, because you've got strategists in both parties. They sit in these back rooms and they sit there constantly working the math and trying to figure out how do we win, or when's a good time for us to lose. And if we do lose, how do we win in other areas? You know, what they're strategizing, not with you, the American taxpayer and voter in mind, but with their own damn self-interest in mind.
And they focus their efforts on the Senate and the Congress,
Yes.
try to tie Congress up.
Yes.
And basically, if you could tie even one house of the Congress up, but especially both houses of the Congress, you basically make the president almost inert, okay? And so if you do that, now you don't burn your Michelle Obamas, your Gavin Newsoms, your whatever else in the future is, you don't burn them right now, because you throw anybody in with Donald Trump, they're going to be singed.
Yeah.
Even if they win, even if they won, they're not going to come out of that unscathed at all.
Nope.
Look at Marco Rubio. Look at Ted Cruz. Look at those guys. That after that first time, those guys didn't even consider running for president this time again with Donald Trump in there.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, look, what do you think? You want to throw your hat in the ring?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'll. And run as a Democrat?
Yeah, there you go.
Hell,
No, but so theoretically,
run as a
then-
purple people.
So
I don't know.
So like as an independent, Robert Kennedy had some challenges even getting on the ballots.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But if they did change course and found another candidate to replace Biden, because it's the Democratic Party or Democrat, whatever they are, they then can just put them on there, right?
Yeah, they can pick whoever they want.
Right, but it's because...
So you do have a shot, Terry.
Right, yeah.
Terry's asking for a friend. No.
Yeah.
They can parachute somebody in at the convention, yes.
Well, hey, what do you think about what I got up on the screen there? Dems blame CNN moderators after Biden debate disaster.
I already said that. I honestly believe the CNN moderators were pretty good. I'm going to give them credit.
All right, and it's just an interesting take.
Well, I haven't read that yet, but I'll bet what they're really mad about is the fact that they did not go in there and try to pull Donald Trump apart at the seams.
And they actually gave Biden hard,
Yes.
Remember, many people are saying that you're too old to run. Tell us why you're not. And he went, blah, 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 blah.
Right, so this is from the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know how valid
it is. Top-notch reporting there.
But you can always tell
hardcore conservative publication that is.
You can always tell who lost a presidential debate by which party is slamming the moderators afterwards. And in the wake of Joe Biden and Donald Trump's presidential debate, many progressives are focusing their fire on CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, and calling him out for not fact-checking Trump in real time during the face-off.
I love this whole fact check is such a bunch of, and I'm keeping it, guys, I've not cussed and I'm not going to, is a bunch of BS, this fact check thing, because who fact-checked your fact? Unless you could show me the videotape. There was a perfect example of the fact-checking that happened, and it was in real time on the former governor of New York, Cuomo.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't him. It was his brother who was on CNN.
Yeah.
And
Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. And the guy said, "Well, you said that Joe Rogan." I got Joe Biden in the head. I had to get past Joe Biden. Joe Rogan took horse paste or whatever on CNN. I didn't say that. And they go, "Let's roll the tape." And there's him looking into a camera saying Joe Biden or Joe Rogan took horse paste and stuff.
Yeah.
That you could fact check something if the words came out of the people's mouths. But other than that, it's kind of like when Joe Biden talked about how Donald Trump had the people at Charlottesville and they were walking out of the field first off, they were walking out of a field in a forest. Well, that doesn't usually work well. You're not usually growing crops in a forest. Yeah. So what was it, Joe? Was it the field or the forest? But they were walking and they had swastikas and signs and torches, and it's like, Do you remember that from watching the 1934 rendition of Frankenstein where they had torches and pitchforks?
Well,
I'm telling you.
So anyway, some of his flub ups, by the way, he couldn't figure out. He doesn't know the difference between million, billion, and trillion.
No, it's a bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was freezing up.
Oh, and the freezing up, he did that.
Yeah.
Where he would just stare for like
Yeah.
a strange amount of time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then just made up all kinds of stuff.
My guess is they also had an earpiece in him.
You think?
And they,
Well, he.
If nothing else, just somebody blows a whistle to keep him awake or something, you know? I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, because at his age, in his condition, with dementia, the dude could face plant any second for crying out loud.
He did look like because there was a time I was watching him and he was slowly doing, he was still, he was stiff. And if you could interpret this as listening to someone in his ear, I don't know. I mean, but Trump was talking. So wouldn't it be difficult if they're feeding him information? It's hard enough for just to talk, much less process cognitively somebody telling you something, and then you're somehow supposed to absorb it.
Well, but
and
they may have just said words. They might have used key words.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the other thing they coach, I don't know if you guys noticed this one. When he first walked on stage, he pointed to the lectern. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I think I remember.
That I guarantee he was coached. He wasn't coached to do that. They kept pointing to the lectern. That's where you go, Joe. That's where you go, Joe. I bet you money, and we'll never know this for true, but I'm telling you, when he pointed that lectern, there was no reason to point at the lectern. Except for that's where I'm supposed to go.
Right, he does that.
Yeah,
he does that all the time.
But that's where I'm supposed. Yeah, because I think he was coached.
Yeah.
That's where I'm supposed to go.
Right, yeah.
And then he's looking around at the crowd. There wasn't there. Did you notice that several times? He would make a comment and look out there and look out like he was.
I forgot about that.
Oh, guys, I'm telling you.
No audience. Yeah,
There was no audience, and he was acting like there was.
And then the first headline, I think, on the bottom of the screen when they were talking about it is that they, it started with no handshake. They did not.
I know.
Did not. That was interesting. I'm not sure.
I don't blame her for not though. I would shake people's hand just because I'm a better person than either one of those guys. Both those guys they're both not good people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just be fair.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's not a good person. I mean, I like his policies, but is Donald Trump a great guy, a great person? No. He's a philanderer.
He's probably fun to be around and drink beer.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
well, he didn't drink beer.
Well, or whatever.
But I don't think either one of them are good people.
Well, wait a minute, Trey. Did you not see the comments this morning from Republican Senator Mitch McConnell?
Oh, you mean?
He said Biden's a good guy.
Oh God.
He said Joe Biden's a good guy.
Joe Biden's a piece of crap. That's something that I did not believe. If you guys remember,
Yep.
When we were talking about Joe Biden was going to run against Donald Trump, I said, okay, I understand Joe Biden's a creepy dude. He's a plagiarist. He's this, that, and other.
Yes.
But he's not a bad guy. By all accounts, he's probably a pretty good person. He's probably done okay. And then, boy, was I wrong about that when all this stuff starts coming out about all this corruption.
Yep.
That he has, and there's just mountains of evidence,
Yep.
and people can go, well, it hasn't been proven in a court of law. Okay, so a court of law doesn't take it, but it doesn't matter. So if I have a picture of Mike punching Terry in the mouth, does it have to go to a court of law before you would say, oh, I just saw Mike do it? When there's mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence
Yep.
of all these money transactions and that sort of stuff. And by the way, who are you going to believe? I listen to Tony Bobulinski. I think that guy's a serious guy.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think he's a straight up guy. I think what he said is true. I don't think he's lying.
Go all the way back to it may have been 2014 or 15. I can't remember the setting in which he said Biden's sitting up on stage with some other folks, and they're talking about the Ukrainian prosecutor.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I told it, I told him, you get rid of that prosecutor, or you don't get the
$1 billion.
Jack.
Yeah, he's bragging about using. That's a quid pro quo, by the way.
Yes.
And he's bragging about it and laughing about it, and all these. By the way, all these. I don't only blame him. I blame all the dummies. I didn't say the word dumb heinies I blame some of these the dumb butts out here who are okay with that.
Yes.
No, there's nothing. That's not good if you're Republican, Democrat, or whomever.
Yes.
And you just admitted that you did it.
But everybody it just got glossed over, like it didn't even happen. And you have Biden himself on video saying it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not hearsay.
Not only saying, bragging about it.
Yeah.
But guys, this is a typical Democrat thing, though. How many Democrats were okay with Bill Clinton and what happened with Monica Lewinsky?
I know.
Look, I don't care that if you have. I'm not the morality police. I don't care that you have an affair with your wife. I think it's wrong. But if you're going to go choose to have an affair with your wife, go do it. Whatever. It's not my business. But when you have it in a while you're on the taxpayer clock, and that person is on the taxpayer clock, by the way, she was also an employee. Mm-hmm. You're an employer, so you're above her in the food chain. So basically, you're taking advantage of her, and you're doing it in a taxpayer-funded place. That's wrong. And all these Democrats were just like going, I do the same thing.
Yeah. So here's a quote from Biden last night. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with COVID.
Yeah, I know.
Excuse me, with dealing with everything. Oh, man, an ad. Hang on. Let's see here. COVID. Excuse me with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, even if we finally beat Medicare, and then, of course, Trump jumps right on that and says, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death. That was actually funny. And he's destroying Medicare because all these things, all these people are coming in to putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy.
That was. I think that was Trump's best moment. And I actually think Biden had a good one when he looked at Trump and said, "You got the morals of an alley cat." Yeah. I thought that was good too, which Biden does as well. But I do agree with that.
Guys, before we wrap up here, do either one of you think there will be another debate?
No, not between Trump and Biden.
Or there'll be they'll probably have some weird town hall or something.
They might have a town hall.
Yeah, maybe.
I believe that either Biden will not be the candidate or Biden will be the candidate, and there won't be another debate. There won't be another head-to-head debate.
Wow. We're a little more than 60 days out from the Democratic National Convention. 9 weeks, so we're about 63 days out. I don't think there's a chance in hell that they're going to allow another one-on-one debate between Trump and Biden. They cannot afford a replay or worse than what happened last night. They cannot afford it at this point, especially if they really look to make any level of impact.
We've got a special guest.
We
want his opinion.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
Here. I call him Killer.
Yeah. Look at this. This is Fluffy, and he watched the debate, and I'm sure he's and
this is what he thinks about it. Look at his face.
Yeah, he's
that's what he thinks. The funny thing about him is, he looks mad because of that underbite. He's a sweet dog. Yeah. He's a really sweet dog.
This is Fluffy.
But if you look at him, he looks like he's going, "Arr."
Yeah, this is Richie's dog. Richie works for us. So, but anyway, I just thought he was coming in to visit. So I just
he was making his way in here.
So
he's actually a really cool little dog.
Yep.
All right. So bye, Fluffy.
Yes.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us for this special edition of Get It Right Texoma. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page. Be sure to go to GetItRightTexoma.com, our website. Be sure to share this across all your social media platforms. And we'd love to have your feedback and your comments on the show at all times. Love to hear from you.
Please don't show this to my goats. They might be be upset that we brought another animal, not one of my goats.
Yeah. Oh. See, now we're going to bring a goat in just to be fair and balanced.
No, because you bring a goat in, I'll tell you what they do. They poop everywhere.
They probably eat the microphone, too. Take care, guys. Until next time, we'll see you down the road.